2 Ezra 6:27. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which has been so long without fruit, shall be declared. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Abishai Bashem Kakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners, and to the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm coming at you with another lesson in truth. And this is a video that was put up by the beloved brother Rashai La Yasharallah, and he tagged my two of my channels in the title. It is called at GMS. Let's see if I can adjust the camera. All right, and it's called at GMS Maccabean Spirit at Malcolm. Where did this astute brother get this information from? All right, where did he get this information from? All right, and when you read in the comment board, the comment ticker tape is going. This was a TikTok video, and I can see where it says Jennifer Chandware said race is a social construct constructed by whom? The ruling class. For what purpose? To divide the workers and prevent class solidarity. And this information that you're about to hear in this video is what is called damage control, because what they're admitting that what I said, what we said as the men of the great millstone is correct when it comes to Esau Edom. But in this particular information about when white people start referring to themselves as so-called white people, this information first was put up by Dr. Jacqueline Badalora, and before her, the historian Theodore Allen. Well, this guy comes with a whole nother professor from Princeton, who's put up the history of when they start referring to themselves as white people. But what they're saying when they speak about this is they're trying to make their two sets of white people. They're, so-called. They're trying to say that they were the Visigoths, they were the Gauls, etc. The people that are mentioned in the New Testament. And the fact is that they're not. Okay? The people of Europe were originally brown-skinned people, just like the man on the screen. All right? They were a different race of brown-skinned people, but yet they were indeed a brown-skinned race of people. So they're trying to negate what all the scholars said before them, all right, to do damage control so that Esau Edom is not exposed, all right, because all so-called European people that are of the pale persuasion, all the ones that are purely what they are, meaning that their forefathers don't go back to some dark race, those are the sons and daughters of Esau Edom, and their forefather, going back to their forefather through Alexander of Macedon. All right. So without any further ado, let's play this short video when he speaks. All right.
How did white people become white people? I'm so glad you asked. I find that most white people have no idea how they came to identify as white. And because they don't know that history, they often fundamentally misunderstand the push against whiteness and white supremacy. You see, white people...
Now, see, everything he just said thus far is 100% correct. Okay? I agree with him 100%. And there's no shadow of a doubt that this guy has been ear hustling my older videos going back about 4 or 5 years ago. Okay, that's beyond clear, because no one was speaking about this subject before I was, and I can honestly say that. I mean, within the realm of Israel in this particular subject matter.
didn't exist before the middle of the 17th century, as in the middle of the 1600s. And if your mind immediately went to the year 1619, then you're on to something.
All right, and see, and that's where, and see, this is how I know. And then it wasn't in 1619, it was actually in 1681 when it was for. Now, they may have mentioned it, started speaking about it, but it wasn't actually put into documentation until 1681, according to the historians. All right. Nevertheless, it did happen in the 1600s in Virginia. All right. That is a 100% fact. Okay. But listen to what he says after that.
More on that later. And this isn't to say that lighter-skinned people didn't exist. Of course they did. Europe is a real place with real people. But those people didn't identify as white people. They were Englishmen, Dutch, Germanic, Slavs, Greeks, Gauls, Scythians.
And see, so that's suggesting that these people were pale, and all the people he just mentioned were dark-complected people. Those people got conquered by Esau, Edom. And he's leaving that very important detail out. All right. And he's going to back what he's saying up by mentioning a Princeton scholar, a professor from Princeton.
Princeton history professor Dr. Nell Irvin Painter chronicles the invention of this diasporic pan-European white identity in her book.
Now, you hear that? This white historic European pan identity in her book. So once again, they're trying to suggest that these people are Japhetic. That's what they're really trying to do. They're trying to connect Esau, Edom to Japhet, and they're using this to this sellout right here, okay? Because he ear hustled the men of the Lord, and I know he was ear hustling my videos for sure. All right, but then they're trying to put a twist on it, okay?
The history of white people. She demonstrates how white identity was constructed, primarily as a justification for the enslavement of African people.
And then he's trying to make us African. You see that? So he's trying to make the so-called white man African, and then he's trying to make the Southern Kingdom. He's trying to make the Southern Kingdom African, when they're not Hamitic at all. They're not from Africa. So once again, they leave the Bible, the most accurate history book ever written. They leave it completely out. They're leaving it out. All right? Because the Negroes who came over to the Americas on slave ships were not Africans. Matter of fact, let's grab the book. I got a couple books in my hand. I got Nature Knows No Color Line by J.A. Rogers. I also have Sex and Race by J.A. Rogers. But let's grab From Babylon to Timbuktu off the shelf from behind me. And read an insert from Babylon to Timbuktu. It says the history of the ancient black races, including the Black Hebrews by Rudolph R. Windsor. All right. And some of that history is also in Nature Knows No Color Line and in Sex and Race. But I believe it's on page 85. And highlight it. All right. And it reads, in the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. All right. So, you could pause. All right. So that's how you had an African Jewish population. They fled there to blend in with other dark people, the same way as Moses did, the same way as who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, his mother and father did. They fled into Africa to hide from the Romans, because the Romans, it was just to look. You got to remember that that portion in the Bible when Jacob died, and how the Africans the Canaanites looked upon the Israelites and said, "There's a great mourning among the Egyptians." All right, and they weren't Egyptians at all; they were Israelites, a different dark race of people. So he's not making, and he nor this professor are declaring that truth. All right, so they're trying to make the people of the conquered people of Europe, who were brown skinned race of people originally, trying to make them white, and then trying to make Israelites Africans. So once again, I mean, it's just typical when these Idumeans tell you the truth, they also tell you lies right along with it, so that you never actually really come to the truth. And they often use a face like this one, guilty as charged, to do it. All right, because if he took the time to learn when white people began to refer to themselves as white people, because they did indeed make it up, right? But he's probably one of them Pan-African guys. He's just one of those guys who wants to deny his heritage, and well, it just is what it is. But here's this is from the book Nature Knows No Color Line, page 29. Let me see if I can see that's the color. Nature Knows No Color Line, the cover. All right, by J.A. Rogers, and this is page 29. And I might just want to show it to you, because what I like in these old books, especially his, you see number 8, he puts the sources where the information comes from. And all these sources are from white scholars, you know, from the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries. All right. So we're going to read from that paragraph right there. The Negroes were first worshipped in Greece and Rome. Why would, and this one paragraph is so powerful, because it says Negroes were first worshipped in Greece and Rome. So why would a society of white people be worshiping Negroes? You know, Astute Brother, please answer that. Princeton's professor from Princeton. Why would that be? Why would all those races he named? Hold on, let's go back.
Of this diasporic pan-European white.
Okay, so these hold
history
on.
Professor Dr. Nell Irvin Painter.
Nell Irvin Painter. All right, let me turn that up. So Professor Nell Irving Painter. Why would she? Doctor, please explain to us. Why would all these pan-European people who in this diaspora, why would they be worshiping black deities? See, because the original people of those lands were indeed so-called black. So-called white people, took them over and took over that land and began to call themselves by those names, the same way as they call themselves Australians today, as they call themselves Canadians today, as they call themselves Americans today. It's no different. Or Romans, because the original Romans were indeed dark flesh people. And there are relics to prove that. Tons and tons of relics.
Chronicles the invention of this diasporic pan-European white identity in her book, The History of White People. She demonstrates how white identity was constructed primarily as a justification for the enslavement of African people.
So she jumped from going back to year 1 and before to the BC era, and then jumped all the way up to the 1600s. All right, there's a huge gap in history in that time. A lot happened. The Dark Ages happened at that time. The medieval times happened during that time, and then the Renaissance, the rebirth, and toward the end of the rebirth is when whiteness was created. All right, the term, that is, the terminology, the new classification as people. All right, this and the one. So now that we've listened to that yet again, let's pose this question to them, and this is the fourth paragraph on page 29. Negroes were first worshipped in Greece and Rome. White masses bowed down to black deities. The rites of Apollo were founded in Delphus, and his Negro mother, Melanis, All right. And the worship of Black Isis and Horus was popular in Rome and the Roman colonies as far north as Britain, when the latter evolved into worship of a Black Madonna and a Black Christ. Christian whites also bowed down to them. In fact, these, you know what? I'm going to put that before the camera so that you can pause it. All right. And once again, it's come and I circled the source. All right. That's Sex and Race. I actually have that book next to me and all the different books and the information that's attached to it. Matter of fact, they might even delete this video because I've found that when you bring out history, this crucial, they don't like that. And, you know, you get met with a lot of resistance to the truth. But it says, in fact, one of these Black Madonnas was Sudanese woman of the 13th century AD. There was also Negro saints in the Catholic Church in Europe. Please explain that, because that's the Dark Ages. So if white people were ruling, why would, come on, man. Come on. All right. Let's read that through the camera. It says, there were also Negro saints in the Catholic Church in Europe. After considerable research, I have been able to find only 3 instances of laws aimed at Negroes in Europe. The first was in 1689 France, when under the influence of a white Haitian planter marriage. See that? So they jumped from the past up to the future again, up to the 1600s. What happened in the 1600s? In 1681, that is when the term white was placed upon a portion of humanity. Prior to that, there was no such thing. How they determined your race was simply through your father, or you were called by the nation of your origin, but they wanted to know who your father was, because it doesn't matter what your outward appearance looked like. What mattered was the seed line you came from. All right, but it says marriage of whites and Negroes were forbidden. The second, also in France, was Louis the 15th ordered the expulsion of Negroes from France because of the 1500 mulatto foundings in Paris. See, so what's this telling you is that why was the presence of Negroes so strong prior to the slave trade in Europe? Please explain that. And I'll tell you why. 2 things. Because a lot of those Negroes were indeed Israelites. Because the Israelites were responsible for the fall of Rome. September Severus, who's also mentioned in Sex and Race. He's talked about in this book. September Severus. All right. And on page 88. And this is from the book Sex and Race on page 88. And there it is. It says September Severus, another great emperor, was born in Africa. All right. But he wasn't an African. All right. Myrcanus and Firmus, the other emperors, were Moors. All right. Definition of Moors. All right. You look that up. Moor and Moreno and Jew all had the same meaning. A Moor, Moreno, and a Jew and a Christian. All right. You can look that up in the etymology online. Etymology meaning truth in words definition. It's going to tell you that a Moreno and a Jew and a Moor and a Christian were connected to the Spain from the 7th century to the 16th century. So there's a lot of history that's being left out. And so what's going on here is that Esau, Edom, the Idumeans, the Edomites, the so-called white man, came into power via Alexander the Great. Okay, and this is why Alexander the Great is so uplifted, because among them in their society, and they'll say that civilization began with him because that was the first time that they came into power, because they were serfs and servants and a no people until that point. And that history can be found in the first book of Maccabees. Maccabees, the first chapter. Matter of fact, let's grab that and we'll close this out. Because I had a TikTok video that I wanted so badly to show, but I can't find it. I was going to play it. I wasn't going to show it. with a young Edomite college student speaking about exactly what I'm talking about, and how the history that she learned was completely and totally white academia, whitewashed. And then when she began to learn real history,